Hey folks, imagine this. This guy just wanted the beautiful ones, but after being hypnotized, he started looking at women differently because that's the movie Shal from 2001. So, get ready, and let's dive into the story. Hal is a young man, and his mother receives the news that his father doesn't have much time left. In his final moments, she wants Hal to say goodbye because his father was someone very important in his life. However, the doctor informs them that he's sedated and might say something nonsensical. When Hal goes to talk to his father, who was a pastor, he advises him to do things differently. He tells Hal to marry a woman with many qualities because that's the only way he'll be happy. According to his father, marrying for love always ends in sadness. From that moment on, Hal takes this advice to heart and grows up trying to be a player, but all he manages to do is endure humiliation. Hal goes to the club with his friend Mauricio to try to pick up someone, but they are both out of place there, and nobody is interested in them. Nevertheless, they don't give up, and the only reason they leave is that it's very late. Mauricio claims he's meeting a girl but doesn't want anything to do with her because she has one toe bigger than the other, which is a deal breaker for him. To save face, Hal says he's going out with his neighbor Jill, who is stunning, and something special will happen tonight. But as life would have it, things don't go as planned. On their way home from the bar, Hal runs into Jill and desperately seeks some attention. He just wants a chance, but she isn't interested, even when he tries to impress her by claiming he'll soon get a promotion at work. The next day at work, his boss calls him to talk about the promotion, but Hal is informed that someone else got it because they were a better fit for the company's image. He's furious because he had plenty of good ideas. Leaving the office, his co-workers tell him that he's facing this situation because he doesn't accept the standards and always wants more than he can offer. He doesn't understand what they mean. On his way home, he gets into an elevator, and by chance, Tony Robbins is also there. Tony is one of the country's top neuro-linguistic coaches, and coincidentally, the elevator stops working. Hal starts asking for tips on how to approach women because, according to his size, something else must be quite large too. He's talking about his self-esteem, and Tony says he'll give him a gift that will make him see women not just for their external beauty. When it's done, Hal says he's ready to find the perfect woman, and magically, the elevator starts working again, thanks to the power of the script. He goes out to hail a taxi, and a woman does the same thing at the same time. Now, he starts looking at her differently because she is very beautiful. They decide to share the taxi to the other side of the city. Inside the car, he starts giving her a series of awful pickup lines, telling her she's exceptional. The driver starts looking at him strangely because he's seeing something different. When it's time to leave, he gathers the courage to ask for her phone number, and surprisingly, it works out in the end. At the end of this movie, there are many lessons to be learned. That night, he goes to the club with Mauricio, and he begins to say that he's seeing the world differently. Another friend of theirs, Walt, joins them. He has unique legs, so women always look at him differently too. However, he says everything will change now because he sold his company to Microsoft, and with money comes great responsibilities. And now, the moment arrives because Hal wants to dance and starts inviting several women to the dance floor. He thinks he's doing great, but Mauricio thinks he's gone crazy because he invited a snake, an alligator, and an elephant to dance, and things are getting worse. But this is just the beginning because the next day, he's on his way to work when he sees a woman on the other side of the street and decides to follow her. Nowadays, we know how that would end. She's in a clothing store and starts picking out some intimate clothes. To strike up a conversation, he asks her why she's buying a parachute, and she starts feeling embarrassed. He apologizes, saying he thought she was buying it for a friend, and he asks her out as a way to make amends. She accepts, and when they arrive at the diner, they start talking and hit it off. For her meal, she orders a big burger with bacon and cheddar, a large portion of fries with bacon, and a 1-liter milkshake. Hal orders the same. Hal is excited because she's a lot of fun and unafraid to be herself. Suddenly, her chair collapses, and she says it happens all the time. Hal can't quite understand why. When they leave the diner, two guys start making fun of them, saying they've taken all the food from the place. Hal confronts them, thinking they were talking about him, but Rose gives the uneaten food to some homeless people. When they say goodbye, he discovers that she is the daughter of the owner of the company he works for, making things even better. The next day, he meets up with Mauricio and tells him that his life is changing because he met an incredible woman. A woman appears riding a bike, and it's the same woman Mauricio wanted nothing to do with because of her toe. It seems like he rejected her because of that, so maybe he's really making an effort to like women, because it just doesn't make sense. Hal mentions that Rose is approaching and points to her, but Mauricio only sees a very large woman. When Hal introduces them, Mauricio realizes that Tony Robbins really messed with Hal's head. The two of them start talking, and she explains that she works for an NGO helping people around the world with various illnesses. She takes him to a hospital, but when they arrive, he doesn't understand what the problem is because all the patients are beautiful. An elderly nurse then appears and says that visiting hours are over. On their way back home, he invites her up, but she's not used to that kind of invitation. Jill appears and notices that he's very excited, leaving her impressed. The next day, he's talking to Mauricio, and Mauricio advises him not to play around because he'll hurt Rose. Hal says he's in love and experiencing the best days of his life. Just then, Rose knocks on the door for a visit, and from there, they start enjoying the day together. They head to the pool, and when Rose jumps in, her splash causes several people to be carried away by the wave. Rose mentions that things are getting serious between them and that she wants to introduce him to her family. When they arrive at her house, she's dressed differently, and her parents start to feel a bit uneasy. During dinner, they engage in conversation, and Hal shares his ideas for the company since he is the owner. Rose's father is impressed, but when they leave the table, he confronts Hal, accusing him of being with his daughter just for an opportunity. Hal is innocent and insists that he genuinely cares about her. Rose's father then tells him to show up on Monday and present these ideas to the company's board. And that night couldn't end better because he goes home with her, and it's a night of fun. She seductively removes her lower garment and tosses it to him. When it transforms into a parachute, he calls her Houdini, but they play all night. In the morning, Jill sees this and becomes jealous. She tries to invite him for a drink, but now he wants nothing to do with her. The next day is the big presentation, and everyone likes his ideas. Rose's father says he still doesn't fully trust him, but is willing to give him a chance. Now, Hal would be working directly for him, and his life starts to change. Mauricio tells him that he wasn't seeing things in the right way. Rose plans a couple's trip with some friends, and by chance, Walt is one of them. Along with him is the shriveled nurse. On the way, they stop to refuel, and it becomes apparent that this nurse is actually very beautiful on the outside, but her personality is rotten. She mentions that Walt always used to ask her out, and she decided to accept now because he sold his company and had time for them to travel and shop. During the trip, they're enjoying everything, but by chance, some of Rose's friends show up, and Hal starts to feel inferior because they are very attractive, and he doesn't think he stands a chance. Rose reveals that they used to date, but it didn't work out. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Mauricio tracks down Tony Robbins and asks what he did to his friend. Tony explains that he hypnotized him to see the best in people, and Mauricio realizes that his friend's life is being ruined. He asks Tony to undo the hypnosis, and Tony, not wanting to ruin Hal's life, agrees to reverse it. Both of them are at a restaurant, and she says that her ex, who used to be her boss, wanted her to go on a business trip. To make matters worse, the chair she's sitting on breaks. Hal goes to complain to the waitress, who is a moderately young woman. Mauricio calls and says the magic word, claiming he's now free, but he doesn't understand anything. When she returns to the waitress, he thinks she looks a bit taller, if you know what I mean, and in this case, I'll keep the joke to myself, just like she can keep the present to herself. When he returns to the table, he can't find Rose and thinks she left. Mauricio appears just then because if he sees what she really looks like, his life would be over. As he walks, he encounters the women he met before, but they all look different. He goes home to rethink his life, but the problem is that Rose follows him, and he starts making up various excuses not to look at her, saying he has an eye infection. Days pass, and now he needs to meet Tony to undo the spell. Jill comes to his house and invites him out, and he knows it might go wrong, but he accepts because he doesn't have much to lose. They go to a restaurant, but on the same day, Rose goes there with her family and thinks he's seeing someone else. Hal makes it clear that he doesn't want anything to do with her, steps out to make a phone call, and passes by Rose without recognizing her. The problem is that he calls her, and now she's even more confused. After all of this, his life starts to go downhill, and her father fires him for hurting his daughter. In Brazil, he would have taken legal action, and the company would have gone bankrupt. Mauricio realizes that he's sad and says he couldn't be with women because he had a strange thing, revealing that he was born with a tail. But now he realizes that these things don't matter, and he's willing to face everything to be with her. He goes to her house, but he mistakes the maid for Rose and starts sticking his tongue down her throat. In the end, everything works out because he apologizes and proposes to her, but he can't lift the bride. Nevertheless, they leave happily together in a somewhat unbalanced car, but nothing a 4x4 can't fix. Because that's the movie Shallow Hal, and here we learn that when you have money, love is blind, and if a woman has a hunchback, beard, and a deep voice, she comes with an exclusive bonus, her big heart. So, leave a like and subscribe with the notification bell on, because if today was good, tomorrow will be even better. Now, I'm outta here, bye.
I walk a lonely road, the only one that I have ever known. Don't know where it goes, but it's home to me, and I walk alone.